Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I understand from my United Nations contacts that the Sutherland Report, as it was called, will contribute today under Ann Arbor's supervision to the concept of a Refugees and Migration Compact next year in 2018. Now, what does that all mean? 625 children were killed last year in Syria, and this is the first solid figures that we're getting since these figures were recorded by UNICEF starting in 2014. Children who are 15 years old, of course, or 13 years old, only a few years ago, 5 years ago when this war started, are now in their late teens. The question is, have they run the gauntlet? Are they not affected by psychosocial challenges? Are they not affected by the realities that are brought out by Save the Children, to whom I pay deep respect for knowing their work in different parts of our region over many, many years. I would like to cite that they refer to 80.5% of children who are living under severe stress. So trying to promote the concept of zero hunger in this region, which I do with the World Food Programme, I am really wondering how it is that the severe stunting of children deprived of lipid foods, which we have to produce for them in record time, among other things, poor water conditions. And having worked with sanitation issues in refugee camps, I recognize that we are talking about a carrying capacity for a region, the Levant region, if you will, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, the Palestinian territories. We in UNICEF schools here in Jordan are caring for a non-discriminatory education system, and I would want to thank the RAND Corporation for their recent study, which expresses their appreciation of the Jordanian Ministry of Education, which actually is, with a very thin staff, engaged in an enormous task of trying to offer educational facilities for refugee children on Jordanian soil. I think that if we look at the Levant region, whether it's Lebanon, Turkey or Jordan, the hosting of Syrian refugees is the direct consequence of the civil strife in Syria, and therefore any reconstruction efforts for Syria have to take into consideration the displaced population, and in particular stop talking about, after 6 years of war, 6 million children now depending on humanitarian assistance, but taking it a step further to understand that these children, whether in the countries I mentioned, in addition of course to Greece and Iraq and Egypt, are not human beings who need our full attention, our full engagement. There's much talk today of CVE and CTE, countering violence here and terror there. But what about shifting some of these budgets to go into life skills, to go into psychosocial support, to increasing the number of young volunteers who are joining with our Ministry of Education teachers in assisting and rehabilitating children. I think that the point is very clear that the irreversible health problems, such as delay in growth and mental health, are caused by severe food shortages. But the question is basically, can we create the nexus between food on the one side and health, water, clean water, and indeed energy for that matter? Can we talk about the nexus between the different organizations and their respective mandates, when in fact these different silos are doing a wonderful job, but wouldn't they do a better job, if I may refer to them as silos, if their mandate somehow reviewed the totality of the human challenge in our Levant region? The food crisis worsens due to the increasing debt levels of families that have fled Syria. Family members become more dependent on the fluctuating food vouchers, and I want to thank Save the Children for their support currently of 7 primary healthcare facilities and a maternity hospital. I want to thank them for their vaccination campaigns in Syria. But I want to say once again that today these programs have reached more than 2.4 million inside Syria, including over 1.5 million children. And yet again, the challenge continues to soar. I want to talk about Syria-centric issues, but I cannot in all conscience continue without referring to the 14 million children in desperate straits in Yemen, and indeed the 2.2 million children in severely malnutrition. I cannot overlook the fact that one under 5 years of age, one child under 5 years of age is dying every 10 minutes in the Yemen. So what value human dignity? So I would just like to add that before we get to that 2018 Compact of Refugees and Migration, isn't it time that we revived our interest in the international community's call for a new international humanitarian order before much more time passes? We talk about complying with relevant UN security resolutions, but I want to say that this is not only for the protection of children and safe and free zones, but I want to say that the ensuring of this protection and safety can only come from a concept, a humanitarian order, where we begin to wage peace together. There's too much emphasis on waging war and possibly making a lot of money out of that for those who do make money. But I think continued financial support to the refugee children of Syria is basically carried by the beacon that is held high by Save the Children and other renowned NGOs who are active in Syria and in host countries. Today we have to talk about a lost generation, but let us try to salvage as much as is humanly possible by the integration of Syrian refugee children into existing educational systems in host countries. Let us try, in short, to change the world's attitude and that of our own from moving to thinking and talking to doing on the ground. Thank you very much for this opportunity.